Welcome to the Explainer. We often focus on the heat of the battle, but what happens after the swords are put away? That's what we're digging into today. The Battle of Khaibar was over, but the real test of character was just getting started. We're going to explore four incredible stories that show how mercy, justice, and pure wisdom were shaped in the quiet moments after the war. Right. So, the fighting's done, the dust is settling. But it's often in these moments, in the calm after the storm, that you see what people are really made of. And that's the big question, isn't it? How do you measure real leadership? Well, it's when things get complicated, when justice, mercy, and wisdom all have to be weighed. And that's exactly what we see in four powerful events that happened right after this battle. Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan. We're going to look at an amazing act of mercy, a serious test of prophethood, a really clever military strategy, and finally, a moment of absolute obedience. And then we'll tie it all together.
Okay, our first story, this one really challenges how we think about the word forgiveness. It shows us that true mercy can be something completely radical.
So, just imagine this for a second. Your own servant goes to the leader, Omar, and tells some really damaging lies about you. When you, Safiyyah, confront her, what's her excuse? Oh, the devil made me do it. I mean, really? How would you react to that kind of betrayal?
Now, most of us would probably think forgiveness is the best you could do here, right? Just withholding a punishment that she totally deserves. And look, that would be an act of justice in itself. But what Safiyyah did, well, it was on another level entirely.
Instead of just a pardon, Safiyyah gave her an act of pure grace. She looked at the woman who tried to ruin her reputation and said, "Go, for you are now a free woman." She freed her from slavery. And that is the essence of mercy. It's not just about not punishing someone, it's about actively giving them a kindness they have done absolutely nothing to earn.
This whole thing is like a perfect illustration of the Quranic teaching. Show forgiveness, enjoin what is good, and turn away from the foolish. It teaches us that real strength isn't found in getting even. It's found in breaking that whole cycle of negativity by doing good even to those who've wronged you.
All right, next up, we're shifting gears to a moment of extreme danger. This wasn't just a test of character, it was a test of a divine mission.
Okay, so check this out. At Khaibar, a woman named Zainab comes forward with what looks like a generous gift, a roasted sheep. But it was a trap. She had specifically poisoned the shoulder because she knew it was the prophet's favorite part. Her logic was simple and chilling. If he's a real prophet, he'll be saved. If he's not, well, problem solved. And the way this unfolds is absolutely crucial. The prophet takes a bite, but something tells him it's poisoned, and he doesn't swallow. His companion, Bishr, though, swallows his piece and tragically dies. Now get this. For the personal attempt on his own life, the prophet forgave Zainab. But justice for another person's murder? That's different. It was only after Bishr died that she was executed, not as revenge, but as justice for the life she took.
This whole terrifying incident was such a powerful lesson for the companions. First, it was a real-life confirmation of the Quran's promise that Allah will protect you from the people, showing his life was divinely guarded. And second, it proved his actions were always guided by impartial justice for the whole community, never by personal anger or a desire for revenge.
So, we've gone from a test of faith to a test of strategy, where things get a little tricky. This is where we see how the lines between truth and deception can get blurry in the fog of war. So Al-Hajjaaj, one of the companions, had a problem. All his money and property were back in Makkah, which is enemy territory. He gets permission to use a little deception. So he rides into Makkah and spreads this terrible and totally false news that the Muslims had been crushed at Khaibar. You can imagine the scene. The secret Muslims there are heartbroken, while their enemies, the Quraysh, are celebrating in the streets. And the plan worked like a charm. While the Quraysh were busy patting themselves on the back, Al-Hajjaaj quietly collected all his wealth. But he didn't leave the believers in despair. He secretly went to the prophet's uncle, Al-Abbas, and told him the truth. So after 3 long days of sorrow, Al-Abbas revealed the actual news of the victory, and that despair turned into this incredible, overwhelming joy. Now, what's really important to get here are the ethical lines being drawn. This wasn't just lying for the sake of it. It was a very specific, calculated strategy to get back what was rightfully his. And, this is key, without causing any physical harm to anyone. You know, this whole story just feels like a perfect real-world example of that verse in the Quran. And they planned, and Allah planned, and Allah is the best of planners. It's a great lesson in using your head, using careful planning and wisdom to protect what's yours when you're up against a wall.
Our last story is really simple on the surface, but it tells you something so deep about what held this community together, about its very foundation.
So, picture it. The soldiers are exhausted, they're starving after the long Battle of Khaibar, and they're finally getting to cook a hot meal. The pots are bubbling, the food is almost ready. Then the command comes down from the Prophet. It's now forbidden to eat the meat of domesticated donkeys. And what did they do? They didn't argue, they didn't ask why. Instantly, they tipped over their own cooking pots, spilling all that precious food right onto the ground.
Wow. I mean, that single act of immediate obedience just perfectly captures this Quranic principle. And whatever the messenger has given you, take. And what he has forbidden you, refrain from. It shows you the bedrock of their community, this absolute trust in the wisdom behind a command, even if they didn't understand the reason for it in that moment.
So we've gone through these 4 very different stories from the aftermath of Khaibar. What are the big takeaways? What can we pull from all this? Well, it's pretty powerful when you put it all together. You have Safiyyah's radical mercy that just shatters the cycle of revenge. You have the Prophet's calm trust in God's protection, which allowed him to act with perfect justice. Then there's the strategic wisdom of Al-Hajjaaj, using his mind to reclaim his rights. And finally, that unquestioning obedience of the companions. Together, these paint a really rich picture of what principled leadership looks like.
So it leaves us with a question to think about. When you're facing your own challenges, big or small, which of these virtues do you lean on? Is it mercy that gives more than is expected? Is it trust in a bigger plan even when you're scared? Is it the wisdom to think your way out of a problem? Or is it the sheer conviction to stick to what you believe is right, no matter what? Definitely something worth reflecting on. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.